Anti-Semitism. There have been those allegations from various female Labour MPs, as you know, as our guest over here mentioned. This is what Jim Reid has put together, and it's the facts. When does democratic debate stop and intimidation begin? Allegations of abuse in Labour really started with the Syria war vote. Around a quarter of the party's MPs voted against the leadership and 4 airstrikes. A number of online threats were made against those MPs. Senior party figures called for the abuse to stop. I'm asking you what your leaders should do about the bullying that's going on of your colleagues.
What a firm line needs to be taken, a code of conduct around social media. There cannot be abuse.
Some of the threats were blamed on activists linked to Momentum, the pressure group set up to support Jeremy Corbyn's leadership campaign. There was talk of unsupportive MPs being sacked or deselected if they didn't fall into line. Momentum insisted it wasn't organising deselections and said it strongly disapproved of bullying.
You're Nazi apologists. You're Nazi apologists rewriting history.
A few months later, and allegations of a different kind of abuse in Labour. This time, Ken Livingstone and Labour MP Naz Shah were both suspended from the party after claims comments they made were anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish. An independent inquiry was launched into racism in Labour.
Morning, Mr Corbyn. Why are you continuing to hold on, Mr Corbyn?
Then it became clear that Jeremy Corbyn would face a leadership challenge.
Thank you so much for coming on.
A brick was thrown through the window of the constituency office of his early rival, Angela Eagle. Is it true you've had death threats?
I'm told I've had death threats. The police are looking into it.
More than 40 female Labour MPs signed a letter warning about rape and death threats. Mr Corbyn's challenger, Owen Smith, said not enough was being done to clamp down on misogyny in the party. Do you think he has encouraged it?
I don't know, but I think he's not been strong enough. I think he has genuinely not understood what a grave problem this is.
It's a claim Jeremy Corbyn strongly and firmly denies. He points out, too, he's also been the subject of much abuse and adds there should be dignity even when there is disagreement.
Where there are disagreements in our party, we settle them through democratic means. No coups, no intimidation, no abuse.
So those are some of the facts, much more from the audience. Could I just ask you, Mr Corbyn, about the report into anti-Semitism? Shami Chakrabarti carried it out, published June the 30th. People want to know what date you offered her peerage.
After that, at the end of July. When the day the Prime Minister resigned, I understood we would get one nomination to the House of Lords. We may get more later on. And I felt that somebody with her record as a human rights lawyer, her record as standing up for the liberties of everybody, would make an enormous contribution to the House of Lords. And I think, actually, everybody should welcome that. She is somebody of enormous talent and was General Secretary of Liberty for a long time and then decided to move on in her life.
Do you accept it? So on the day David Cameron resigned, you offered it to her. What did she say?
She said she was very pleased to accept it, and she would work very hard and take the Labour whip in the Lords.
Do you accept this accusation of bias, that you asked her to carry out the report? She then joined the Labour Party. She carried out the report which said there wasn't widespread anti-Semitism within the Labour movement. Then you offered her a peerage.
Anyone that knows Shami Chakrabarti would know that she's a person of the most incredible intellectual rigour and strength. Can I finish? Intellectual rigour and strength, and she produced a report. She met a very large number of people. She produced a report which has proposed a series of rule changes and a process of education and involvement within the party, which was well received by the entirety of the national executive of the party, and I hope it will now go through.
Do you accept that the sequence of events leads to some to see that there is a perception of bias?
I hope that nobody would do that. They would recognise Shami as somebody of great value and great strength to our society, as somebody who will stand up for human rights and liberty of everybody in this country.
OK. Morning. Hi, good morning.
Hi, my name's Jane. I'm from Ashfield TLP, just a young Labour member. With just 4% of the Jewish Labour movement voting for you, Jeremy, if you become elected as leader again, what policies are you going to put in place to make them feel included in the Labour Party?
I will obviously meet the Jewish Labour movement, as indeed I've met many other Jewish organisations, Jewish Socialist Group and many others who have given me a lot of very helpful advice. I've also had meetings with the Board of Deputies and others, and I would continue that dialogue and that inclusion with them, because the history of the whole Jewish community, the abominable way they've been treated historically by the Nazis and others, but also the huge radical tradition of the Jewish community through the Bund and many other great causes. And so I would reach out to them in the same way that I want to reach out to all communities. The Labour family must be inclusive of all communities.
Yeah,
Despite the report, is it still a big issue?
Yeah, I've got friends who joined the Labour Party the day after we lost the election. Those friends resigned the day that you became leader, and they're Jewish friends of mine. So getting them back on board, I'm struggling at the moment because they just don't believe that this is a safe party for them to be a part of.
And if Owen Smith was elected in this contest, would they rejoin, do you think? Have they told you
They'd
that?
certainly consider it.
OK. Anti-Semitism in the Labour movement. I mean, the report was carried out by Shami Chakrabarti. Some people said it was a whitewash. Others warmly received it and said the rules, the recommendations that she put out there should help alleviate this. What do you think?
Well, I've met in the last couple of weeks and months with a lot of representatives of the Jewish community and the Jewish Labour community, and I think the proof of the pudding of the Chakrabarti report is they don't think it is adequate. They feel fundamentally that it doesn't acknowledge the extent of the problem in the Labour movement, and that is why I think one of the reasons they've lost faith in Jeremy. They did nominate me this week, and I'm very proud that the Jewish Labour movement have done that.
There's a great big sigh from somebody over here. I'm not sure why.
I don't know why either, because I don't think any of us should be sighing about something as important as Labour appealing to one of the communities that's traditionally supported us. At the moment, it's around